In its opening week in Japan, the Chainsaw Man TV anime sold 1,735 Blu-ray discs. To put that in context, Demon Slayer moved 41,000 copies in a comparable first-week window. Jujutsu Kaisen cleared 35,000. Lycoris Recoil, also airing in the same year, 2022, crossed 23,000. Bocchi the Rock crossed 21,000. And Chainsaw Man, which had arguably the most anticipated anime launch of 2022, sold 1,735. The second week was worse, approximately 325 copies, Blu-ray and DVD combined. So here's the thing. How does a show with numbers like that go on to gross $191 million at the global box office? Before we go further, we need to understand what Blu-ray first-week sales actually track, because conflating them with show quality is the single biggest mistake people make when reading this story. BD sales are Japan's traditional domestic commercial thermometer for the otaku physical media buyer. That buyer has a very specific profile. They spend roughly 6,934 yen, around $53 per 2-episode disc, and the full 12 episodes would run you close to $310. That audience expects an experience faithful enough to the source material to warrant that price tag. BD numbers measure Japan's core collector audience, and nothing else. They do not measure the 15-year-old in Sao Paulo watching on Crunchyroll, the film student in Chicago analyzing the cinematography, or the casual viewer in Seoul who has never bought a physical disc in their life. Now look at the global signal. Chainsaw Man TV Season 1 holds a MAL score of 8.42 with approximately 1.15 million member ratings as of mid-2026. When it launched on Crunchyroll in October 2022, it crashed the platform's servers and set a record as the highest viewed anime in Crunchyroll history at that point. It was also Crunchyroll's most searched TV anime of the entire year. Rotten Tomatoes critics gave it 97%. Those two datasets, 1,735 BD copies and 1.15 million MAL votes, are not contradicting each other. They are measuring two entirely different things. To understand why the adaptation made the choices it did, we need to understand the source material and the person who created it. Tatsuki Fujimoto did not set out to make manga. He originally wanted to be a film director. His documented influences read like a Criterion Channel syllabus: Quentin Tarantino, Bong Joon-ho, Stanley Kubrick, Jinro, The Wolf Brigade, and yes, also Sharknado and FLCL, because Fujimoto does not pretend to have clean taste. Chainsaw Man Part 1 ran in Weekly Shonen Jump from December 2018 to December 2020. Part 2 followed on Shonen Jump Plus from July 2022 through March 24, 2026, ending with Chapter 232, titled Thank You, Chainsaw Man at its global peak. It overtook One Piece as the most read manga on Shueisha's Manga Plus platform. Total sales, over 36 million copies worldwide. And this is where it gets interesting from a structural standpoint. MAPPA did not co-fund Chainsaw Man through the standard production committee model, where multiple companies pool their money, share the financial risk, and collectively dilute creative control. MAPPA self-funded the entire production at 100% of cost, alone. No committee. No compromise. MAPPA CEO Manabu Otsuka described this as a deliberate strategic decision to retain full creative ownership. The commercial payoff was direct, because there was no committee to split revenue with. MAPPA retained most of the Crunchyroll streaming licensing income. The CEO subsequently confirmed that the series recouped its entire investment through streaming deals alone, before a single Blu-ray shipped. The 1,735 BD copies were almost irrelevant to the financial equation. The model had already worked. The man MAPPA put in charge of the adaptation was Ryū Nakayama, and this was his first time as a full lead director for a TV anime season. That alone was a signal. His stated premise for the entire production was, quote, a live-action style that would coincide with Fujimoto's manga style so as not to destroy the atmosphere. He and chief episode director Masato Nakazona wanted to make something that felt like a tribute to the cinematography they and Fujimoto all loved. The result, muted, naturalistic color palette with no saturation pops. Thin, clean line work rather than thick, nervous ink like the manga. subtle facial expressions, and restrained performances. Prestige television pacing. If you came from Jujutsu Kaisen, Nakayama's own studio, the same studio, you would be confused. That mismatch of expectation is the entire story. Nakayama later left MAPPA in January 2024 to found his own studio, Anraft. There is no cleaner encapsulation of the entire Chainsaw Man TV anime's creative thesis than its opening credits. Kickback by Kenshiro Yonezu is itself a cultural artifact. It debuted at number 47 on Spotify's Top 50 global chart, the first time a Japanese artist based in Japan had ever charted there. It also peaked at number 13 on the Billboard Global 200 and surpassed 180 million global streams. But what the OP visuals do is more remarkable. Shot for shot, they recreate the crosswalk walk from Reservoir Dogs, the diner standoff from Pulp Fiction, the bowling ball sequence from The Big Lebowski, and the motel scene from No Country for Old Men. There is also a nod to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Fujimoto's own manga short Goodbye, Eri. The OP cites almost no other anime. Its entire visual grammar is American cinema. In 90 seconds, Nakayama told you exactly what he was building. Here is the core tension, stated as clearly as I can. Tatsuki Fujimoto draws with thick, loose, chaotic ink lines that produce what critics have called a nervous energy. His characters make delightfully ugly faces in moments of extremity, screaming, terrified, grinning with missing teeth. The manga is simultaneously gritty, comedic, and horrifying, sometimes within the same panel. Anime News Network's 2022 critical analysis of the adaptation, one of the most careful pieces written about this show, argued that the anime replaced that endearing scribble and ink quality with thin, clean, polished line work that was technically impressive but emotionally different. The action sequences moved spectacularly, but the splatter was missing, making combat feel as tonally flat as a dialogue scene. And the genre-bending chaos of the source, the thing that makes the manga feel like a panic attack drawn in ink, was replaced with a single consistent dramatic register. That is the stylistic case against the adaptation. It is not a case about quality. It is a case about fidelity to a very specific energy. Too specific, concrete complaints drove most of the negative reaction from Japanese audiences. First, CGI. The action sequences used computer-generated animation that had jarring frame drops and movement patterns that clashed with the prestige live-action aesthetic the rest of the show was going for. Critics said the CGI ruined the experience specifically in early episodes, and it was visible enough that even casual viewers noticed. Second, voice casting. MAPPA cast debut voice actor Kikunosuke Toya as Denji. Japanese fans had expected a veteran, specifically Nobuhiko Okamoto, known for aggressive, unhinged performances. The petition that circulated in December 2022 explicitly cited Toya's performance as too gloomy and not conveying how unhinged Denji is. For contrast, Power was voiced by Feiru's AI, who had already established her range as Jolan Kujo in JoJo, Stone Ocean. Mikima was voiced by Tamori Kusunoki. The lead role, the actual protagonist, got the newcomer. That was a choice, and Japanese fans noticed. By December 27, 2022, the day before the TV season finale, an online petition calling for a full remake of the Chainsaw Man anime had surpassed 2,000 signatures. The specific grievances, unfaithful directorial interpretation of the manga's themes and foreshadowing, Denji's lines cut from Episode 1, the Kobeni battle sequence in Episode 9 mishandled, too much time spent before reaching the samurai sword arc, and, again, Kikunosuke Toya's performance. Defenders immediately organized a counterposition, and their argument was structurally strong. Tatsuki Fujimoto himself has publicly stated that manga and animation are different mediums, and he wanted the anime to take its own creative direction rather than be a panel-for-panel reproduction. Defenders also noted what Chainsaw Man was not. It was not the promised Neverland Season 2, which skipped entire arcs and collapsed narratively. It was not Tokyo Ghoul, which had genuinely poor animation. The Chainsaw Man adaptation had high production values and was narratively coherent. The disagreement was about what kind of coherence it should have. Western viewers came to Chainsaw Man without a cultural script telling them what it was supposed to feel like. They had no preloaded expectation that a shonen jump property needed to deliver kinetic, expressive, high-octane action. The cinematic, deliberate, prestige TV approach read as a quality signal. It felt like an event rather than filler. The same choices that Japanese fans processed as a betrayal of the manga, Western audiences processed as evidence that this anime was doing something different from everything else they had watched. There is also a secondary factor that the data supports. Chainsaw Man Season 1 was the second most watched anime in Japan in 2022 by streaming numbers. Japanese audiences did watch it. They just did not buy the Blu-rays. The domestic audience streamed the show and voted with their wallets against the physical collector product, which is itself an interesting statement about the changing structure of anime consumption even within Japan. For the theatrical adaptation of the Reze Arc, manga volumes 5 and 6, covering the Bomb Devil storyline, MAPPA brought in a new director, Tatsuya Yoshihara. His stated mandate was explicit: we decided to return to the origin, the brilliance of Tatsuki Fujimoto's paneling and compositions in the manga. Specific visual changes were made. Eye highlights were restored to characters. Shading was reduced. Color saturation increased. Mikima's hair shifted from the light pink of Season 1 to vivid red. Line work became thicker and more prominent. The film opens with a black and white manga panel-style sequence, a direct acknowledgement of the fandom's request to honor Fujimoto's art style. Assistant director Masato Nakazono described the goal as capturing the feeling you get when flipping through a manga. And yet Yoshihara was careful not to simply reverse Season 1. Even in those moments where the structure is the same as the original, we wanted the film to create a fresh new feeling that's unique to anime. And this arc is also genuinely strong source material for a theatrical film. Reze, pronounced Reze, is the Bomb Devil, a Soviet-engineered hybrid weapon sent to retrieve Denji's heart. She is the closest the series gets to a conventional love story before it subverts that completely. Tatsuki Fujimoto has specifically cited Jinro, The Wolf Brigade, the 1999 animated film, as the structural inspiration for this arc. Jinro tells a tragic love story between an operative and a girl, built around a Red Riding Hood allegory, and Fujimoto wove the town mouse and country mouse fable directly into Reze's narrative. The Reze arc is one of the most self-contained and emotionally resonant sections of Chainsaw Man Part 1. It works as a film because it has a complete emotional arc, a boy who just wants to live a normal life, a girl built to destroy that possibility, and a structure that turns the genre's expectations against the viewer at the exact moment you lower your guard. The Reze Arc film did not just perform well. It performed structurally. Japan domestic total, 10.01 billion yen, approximately $63.9 million US dollars, from 6.55 million ticket sales across 103 days, ranking it as the fourth film to clear the 10 billion yen mark in Japan in 2025. Its opening weekend displaced Demon Slayer, Infinity Castle from the #1 box office position, which had held that spot for 9 consecutive weeks. North America opening weekend, $18.03 million across 3,003 theaters. US domestic total, $43.3 million. Worldwide, $191.4 million total. Rotten Tomatoes, 96% critics score across 48 reviews, 98% audience score from over 5,000 verified ratings. Critic consensus, revving up the carnage while maintaining a perversely sweet emotional core. Those numbers do not need editorializing. The global bet landed. So what is MAPPA doing with all of this? The Assassin's Arc was officially announced at Jump Festa 2026 in December 2025. A second teaser revealing production staff dropped on June 19, 2026, confirmed by Anime News Network. The arc adapts roughly 18 manga chapters. Following the events of the Reze arc, Denji becomes the target of elite devil hunters dispatched by countries around the world, escalating the story into international geopolitical stakes and introducing what Fujimoto once called a global consequence to the Chainsaw Man's existence. No confirmed release date as of mid-2026. Based on typical production timelines, industry analysts put the earliest realistic window at 2027. The manga itself ended on March 24, 2026 with Chapter 232, titled Thank You, Chainsaw Man Part 3 has not been announced. The franchise is now a film series and an anime series simultaneously, and both are commercially viable. So let me bring this back to the question we started with. The BD sales failure in Japan is real. 1,735 copies is a historically low number for a title at Chainsaw Man's cultural weight. And the reception gap is also real. 1.15 million global MAL votes, $191 million in theatrical gross, 97% on Rotten Tomatoes TV. Both of those things are true simultaneously. What they reveal is that two different definitions of anime were competing in 2022, and they are still competing now. One definition: anime is a medium for Japan's otaku physical media buyers, and a faithful, expressive adaptation is the price of admission. The other definition: anime is a global art form with its own evolving grammar, capable of absorbing cinematic influence from anywhere in the world and building its own audience on its own terms. The Reze Arc partially synthesizes these by returning to the manga's visual energy while maintaining cinematic scope. The $191 million answer is not that one-side one. It is that the franchise found a way to stop choosing, and the rest of the industry is watching. Was the Nakayama adaptation a creative failure or a creative experiment that was simply ahead of its audience? Is the Reze Arc's visual pivot a correction, or is it a compromise? And does the global commercial case, the $191 million, the 1.15 million MAL votes, actually settle the question of what anime is supposed to feel like? Or does it just tell us which audience has more streaming subscriptions? I genuinely want to know where you land on this. Let me know in the comments. And subscribe if you want more deep dives like this. I go long on the Japan vs West reception gap specifically, and there is a lot more to cover.